Hey guys, this is another experimental video. This is basically going to be semi-scripted. I'm gonna mix in some scripted segments with unscripted stuff. But yeah, let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Alright, let's just get straight into this. DLC has been both a great blessing and a great curse upon gaming. You know, dating all the way back to the mid-2000s. Even before the release of the Xbox 360. And I'd say there's nothing inherently wrong with the concept of DLC, and there's been plenty of great DLC that's released, but overall, it's been a bad thing. It's just been another opportunity for publishers to ruin their own games by cutting content and just, you know, charging the user, gamers, whatever you want to call us, more and more money, milking us dry. You know the story by now, right? So, I guess the question is, how did it get to this point? How did it get this bad? You know, where did these microtransactions come from? Loot boxes, you know, all this just horrible practices. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So, I do want to say, the brief history in this is a bit loose. I mean, this is in no way a comprehensive list of all bad DLC practices. I just want to talk about, essentially, the slippery slope that DLC has gone through. You know, if you want to see a comprehensive list with dates, I'm sure some YouTuber has talked about that by now. That's not really my style, you know. I'm sure somebody with, like, more artistic editing has done that already. So, this is more of just like, let's take a look at this shit, let's talk about it. You know, just listen to me get depressed about how my favorite medium has gone to shit, essentially. So before the rise of online gaming and the influx of the casual market, we had expansion packs. Well, I didn't grow up with a gaming PC. The extent of my PC gaming in the 2000s was RuneScape and Flash games. Remember addictinggames.com? Yeah, I had a lot of fun back then. But anyway, games like Diablo 2, The Sims 2, Battlefield 1942, Civilization 2 and 3, Morrowind, and many others had these massive add-on packs that were sold in separate boxes in retail stores. Every once in a while you'll hear some old millennial talk about 90s PC gaming, and how expansions used to add so much content or change the experience enough that it was almost like a completely new game. You guys have probably seen this meme by now of, you know, the painting with cut content. I'll just give you a refresher right here. But this pretty much sums up where this is gonna go from here. So how did we go from expansions to loot boxes, battle passes, season passes, on-disc DLC, and the dozens of other manipulative practices that have been shoved into our beloved escapism? Well, the short answer is, of course, greed. But I think it's important that we examine this slippery slope and learn how everything has snowballed out of control in the last 15 years. Believe it or not, milking our wallets dry dates all the way back to 2005 with the Halo 2 multiplayer map pack. For $20, what did you get? 9 maps. That's literally it. Granted, today $20 will barely get you a fancy character skin, so maybe the map pack is not so bad. And actually, Call of Duty made this concept even worse, as they have what, like $15 map packs? Or they used to anyway. They had these like $50 season passes. It was 4 $15 map packs. That each map pack was what, only like 4 or 5 maps, and you had to buy them to play the game over the course of the year. And then they released the next game like right after the season pass ends. Like, what the hell was the point of that exactly? Like, I get if all you play is Call of Duty, I guess it makes sense to buy that. But what a fucking ripoff, dude. Like, it makes this map pack look good. But so let's fast forward to the 360 era. The birth of modern gaming. Early on, shitty DLC was something of a meme, like the horse armor from Oblivion. Granted, it was only $2.50, but it was purely cosmetic armor for horses. So you can see where the birth of the cosmetic craze started. DLC in the late 2000s was mostly good though. They were more bite-sized expansions that gave you even more of a great game to enjoy. Fallout 3's expansions come to mind. Though Broken Steel was essentially a mandatory purchase at the time, because Fallout 3's ending was fucking horrible and just poorly written. I mean, like, they literally had to write in a story reason why you couldn't just send Fox in to activate the water purifier. Like, and it's the worst thing in the world. Just listen to this.
You have something to say? No, I'm sorry, my companion, but, no. We all have our own destinies, and yours culminates here. I would not rob you of that.
What an asshole!
Anyway, so the Pit, Point Lookout, Operation Anchorage, and Mothership Zeta were all solid content packs for the price, just $5 each. Or, you know, you could pay $25 to get all the expansions in essentially one of the first season passes. Broken Steel later released to fix the ending, adding a post-game story that let you wander the wastes to your heart's content at the end. Pre-order bonuses started to spring up around this time, a very obnoxious but ultimately kind of harmless practice in the sense that the content was never anything substantial. Usually some piece of gear that would be obsolete in an hour, or some half-ass mission that you probably wouldn't even play anyway. So while it was, and still is, shitty, it's nothing compared to what we deal with today. DLC hit its first major low point with Street Fighter IV, which was notorious for having several different versions released both physically and digitally, and featured the first major instance of content cut purposely before release to sell to you later. This is when on-disc DLC became a household name. Street Fighter IV had DLC costumes already on the disc that were locked until you forked over more money to unlock them, hence on-disc DLC. Somehow, Capcom managed to drag their own name through the dirt several times from 2008 to 2013. This continued through Resident Evil 5, which had its Versus mode cut for DLC, Mega Man 9 and 10, which had bonus modes cut, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which featured exclusive content that you could not purchase digitally, meaning fans would have to shell out $40 if they wanted to keep playing their favorite fighting game. And of course, then we get idiots back in the day, which it still pisses me off, even though this comment is what, like 9 years old, that, oh, what difference does it make? Okay, you fucking moron. Like, really, just consume product. Just fucking buy the thing you already purchased that's on the disc. Like, as a normal human being who doesn't like wasting money, do I really have to explain the problem with on-disc DLC? You should legally own that content, the data on the disc that you bought. But, you know, fuck it, man. Like, at least on-disc DLC has mostly disappeared. I think occasionally I see an article about it every once in a while, but I don't know, dude. They've gotten too smart about these things. There's too many other ways to make money. Yeah, I don't know. This was just an especially sad time, as Capcom became like one of the worst companies. Well, they were replaced by Konami a few years later, and Konami is still a piece of shit to this day, so I guess that's good news for Capcom. So, actually, sticking with Capcom, another one of their games, Asura's Wrath, has quite possibly the worst DLC I've ever seen to this day. The ending, yes, the actual real ending to the game, was sold separately for $5. And I actually really like this game. I mean, even though it's barely a video game, it's more like an interactive anime with short, like, God of War sequences and, like, a lot of quick time events, essentially. It was fun. Like, it was very over the top. It's cool. I mean, honestly, I'm sure a lot of you, even if you've never played the game, have seen, like, some of these over-the-top cutscenes. And it's fun. I mean, maybe I'll cover it someday, and we'll probably be forced to buy that ending just so that I can cover it. But, dude, this was just fucking nuts. Like, how can you literally cut out the ending and sell it to somebody? Like, that is so insane. That's what I'm saying. Like, even though we all hate Konami now, like, Capcom honestly was worse back then. Like, the only difference is they didn't they didn't kill off their most popular franchise, you know? Though, Metal Gear was kind of at its expiration date at that point. It sort of needed a reboot after 5. That we're probably never gonna get. Konami is too busy these days making pachinko machines to give a shit about video games. So, this leads to when EA started pushing the online pass. Luckily, online passes didn't actually last too long, but they were essentially a cheap way to kill off used games. Basically, in new copies, there would be this little paper slip that would come in your case, right? It had a code on it. You had to enter the code to gain access to the online multiplayer. And a lot of times, these little pieces of paper would just have like little pieces of DLC. Like it would be, they actually sort of replaced pre-order bonuses for a while. I guess because companies decided they wanted to kill off GameStop all of a sudden. So they stopped giving them pre-order deals. And, that wasn't so bad, I guess, because if you bought a new copy, if you bought a used copy, you probably didn't give a shit about whatever little piece of DLC was in there. So, but when it was an actual online pass, of course they charge you like $5 to $10 if you buy a used copy to make up for their loss of revenue to be able to play online in the game. And holy hell, man, like, this was just one of the most desperate times. Like, I get not liking GameStop. I don't think anybody likes GameStop.
Motherfucker! I apologize now.
But you're essentially killing off all the mom and pop stores as well. Like, all the fucking, literally killing off just giving a friend a game or selling them your game or something. Because, it was just so desperate. It came across as so fucking desperate back then. And luckily, it did not last long. It only lasted about 4, maybe 5 years. And EA and Ubisoft, I think, were the only ones really pushing for this. Mostly EA, with Battlefield 3, Dead Space 2, and pretty much all their sports games over the course of 3 or 4 years. And I couldn't really tell you why. I would like to say gamer backlash, but honestly, I think it was more just because of the rise of digital purchases and the slow death of GameStop. Extremely slow death. I can't even believe they're still in business at this point. So, even with the rise of exploitative DLC last gen, there were still some gems in the rough. We had standalone DLC expansions, which, some of you might not consider this DLC, but honestly, I think it still counts because it was only available digitally, and back at the time, they were essentially marketed as DLC, right? And what I'm referring to, of course, is Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, and Infamous Festival of Blood. And yeah, there were probably a few others, but these are the 3 that pop in my head as some of the most fun, standalone DLC games that you could just play. They were, 2 out of 3 of these were $20 or less, and I think Undead Nightmare was $30 or $40, but it was definitely worth the price. Undead Nightmare was pretty much a completely new game. Blood Dragon was a short, new game, but it was still just, Blood Dragon's awesome. I'll probably do a video on it someday. And Infamous Festival of Blood was just a short little 2-hour thing. You got vampire powers. It was really fun if you liked Infamous 2. It was basically more Infamous 2. It added some, they had a mission creator in Infamous 2, and it added some additional stuff to that, so that was kind of cool. But basically, what I'm saying is that standalone DLC allowed developers to make these cheap bite-sized additions to games because they could reuse a lot of the same assets. It was much cheaper to develop, and so it was much cheaper to buy, for the consumer. So there was nothing really exploitative about them. They were just fun, and that's what it should be. That's how DLC should be used for. It's extra content and hopefully new content. But also we did get some expansions that were reminiscent of old. You know, I think of like the Dragonborn DLC for Skyrim, the Artorias DLC for Dark Souls, the Ballad of Gay Tony from GTA 4, and you know, I'm sure there's plenty others. You could probably just Google a list of good expansions, right? But for every good one, there were 3 more that were either cut content, asset flips, or just ludicrously overpriced. So now we get to the current gen. How did it get this bad? Well, personally, I think the cancer that is mobile gaming inspired greedy executives to implement similar monetization methods. The obvious connection being microtransactions. All of you have heard this term likely hundreds of times by now. You all know what it means. Mobile games have made billions of dollars through this tried and tested death by 1,000 cuts method. And of course, console gaming has this as well. Countless $5, $10, even $20 purchases of premium currencies, skins, yada yada yada. It's fucking tiresome, man. Every AAA game has this shit now. And yet people eat it up. The amount of time I've heard people praise Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yuck. An incredibly mediocre game with a permanent 50% EXP boost in the store for $10 fucking dollars. Also as premium currency for a single player game. Fuck you casual shits, dude. And fuck that one guy who fucking commented on my, I did that, you know, sort of news video, whatever you want to call it. I was harsh on Gotham Knights and, Suicide Squad, which, yeah, you know, I'm a cynic, like, I'll admit it. I'm overly harsh on games. Sometimes they don't entirely deserve it. I mean, the games are definitely, like, Suicide Squad literally just started development. So, you know, it could be good. I was just giving impressions of the trailer, right? But for fucking one guy just randomly decided to fucking comment on my Shadow of War, like when I was talking about Shadow of War's microtransactions. It's like, I didn't say you had to buy them, but the fact that they're fucking there is fucked up, dude. Are you serious? You're okay with that just because you don't have to buy them? Yeah, I didn't buy any either when I played the game. But you're fucking, you have to stare at it essentially every time you pause. Like, that tab will always be there. It always has this fucking obnoxious shit. And of course, see, here's the thing. This is what you people don't get, right? They got smart at some point. These games usually give you just enough free premium currency that you can afford like 1, maybe 2 loot boxes for free to get you hooked on the gambling aspect, right? And, you know, we'll talk about this a little bit more later when I actually get to the loot box segment. But my point is that you're fucking, this is where the consumer meme came from.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Like, this is a product. You can choose to buy it or you can choose not to. There's no obligation. There is no fucking entitlement. Like, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life. That gamers are entitled. It's a fucking product, dude. They are made to cater to people to buy them. There is no fucking entitlement, you morons. Like, nobody, the fucking companies are entitled at this point. They think they're entitled to our $60. Like, and they have this legion of fanboys to tell everybody that they're like, oh, dude, I can't believe you're not gonna buy this game. Fuck you, dude. There's like 1 million games. You can play any fucking game you want. Okay. This wasn't supposed to be a rant video. But anyway, back to this. Alright, so, yes, so speaking of loot boxes, that was the next step in games. Literal gambling in video games. Isn't that great? I can't even blame mobile for this one, because EA basically admitted that the popularity of loot boxes came from their FIFA games. Over $1 billion annually, just from loot boxes in their sports games. So, you have your answer. I also want to throw some shade at Overwatch for further popularizing this shit. Yes, Overwatch was fair with them, basically giving them out for free, but that was the gateway drug for all the games that came after. Of course, some of you have noticed a distinct lack of loot boxes in games in the last 2 years. We can actually thank gamers for once for this one, as I'm 99% sure this is only because of the massive backlash against Battlefront 2. As that was probably the most egregious example of pay to win in a AAA title to date. You guys know what happened next. Thankfully, the threat of government regulation of loot boxes, nice job Belgium, by the way, and the game's financial failure saved gaming from going down an even darker path. And then, of course, you know, another thing that stemmed up recently was battle passes, you know, because of course the popularity of the free-to-play game, and then subsequently the popularity of battle royales, led to the battle pass, of course. Now, see, the battle pass is probably one of the less exploitative DLC practices, because it's essentially their way of supporting the free-to-play game in a way that's affordable for the average consumer. Because of course you're going to have the whales, just like mobile games. Whales typically, you know, okay, so just to explain, whales are essentially the people who spend like $1 billion in mobile games. These rich, entitled, whoever the hell they are, I don't know, they're basically addicts. And not all of them are even rich, like some of them are basically just, you know, very sad gambling addicts, you know. And this is their only source of happiness or something, which I actually do feel bad about that, you know, if you're that kind of person. But for the people who are like rich and they're just blowing money on a shitty game to be better than like the peasants or whatever, like, oh my god, that's just sad, dude. That's pathetic. Of course, though, you know, for battle royale games, they don't really have pay to win, so instead this translates into having like all these insane over-the-top skins that, of course, fucking some of them cost $20 for a skin, man. A skin. But the battle pass, on the other hand, whoever came up with that is a genius, you know, because honestly, it's kind of exploitative in a non-exploitative way, in a sense, which that sounds stupid, but if you think about it, right, so generally how they're set up, every 3 months you spend $10, and on its own you basically get nothing, right? So this is how they make their money, because essentially it's free money anyway, because you're not actually purchasing anything. You're purchasing the ability to get skins, right? And I guess they don't really give that same like psychological sense of like superiority, or at least not until the last few, like when you get to like near 100 in the battle pass, level 100, as like say just buying a $20 skin from the store, because you can show off being like a rich kid or whatever the fuck if you wear your $20 skin. But with the battle pass, right, you actually have to play the game. You're actually unlocking things. So why it sucks and it's horrible is because, you know, unlockables used to be a thing in video games. They used to be a fucking real thing, right, that you would unlock. I used to love them, right? I used to love, like, Kirby Air Ride. I just want to talk about Kirby Air Ride because I love Kirby Air Ride. That's actually, surprisingly, I have not talked about it much on this channel. That's one of those games I talk about a lot, alongside Dark Souls or whatever, if you ask any of my friends. So, you know, the game director for Kirby Air Ride was, you know, Masahiro Sakurai. You guys all know him from Smash Bros, right? And that's where he came up with, like, his block system of unlocks, where essentially you have this grid, and you hover over things in the grid, and it tells you how to unlock stuff, right? Or it doesn't tell you what you unlock, but it tells you the challenge. And so, you basically start with, you know, nothing, and then you play the game and you just naturally complete these challenges, and then you want to complete these harder challenges and you unlock all this cool stuff, right? And city trial mode in Kirby Air Ride, fun as fuck. Love it. Definitely will talk about it someday. I know there's probably 5 of you out there who play Kirby Air Ride. It is the most underrated party game ever. I believe that. Legitimately. But anyway. So, I guess the point of what I'm saying in the most dumb way possible is that unlockables were sweet. You know, whether it was fighting games unlocking new characters, or like single player games unlocking like super awesome like armor, weapons, or whatever the hell you had to do to get stuff. And now you have to pay for that shit, of course. And the battle pass is essentially a way that you pay $10 every 3 months to put unlockables in a game, right? But we've been conditioned by now that seems like a good deal compared to everything else, and it kind of is. you know? And you almost feel bad because in a free-to-play game, unless you're a maniac who bought a million skins, you really are paying. You really are playing it for free. So I've bought probably like 5 or 6 battle passes, or maybe not that many, because you do usually get them for free. That's the other smart thing, is that if you get all the way through the battle pass, you have enough to get the next one for free, and that's another really smart thing that they've done. So I think I paid for 4 battle passes, something like that, over the last 3 years. Yeah, I'll admit it, you know. I bought some of this shit too. I don't even know where to go with this at this point. This was the free talk segment in my script. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not like there's no good DLC left. I mean, I know everyone circle jerked Witcher 3 to death, but you know, the Blood and Wine expansion, you know, this is, I'll admit this right here. I actually have not played the Blood and Wine expansion yet, because the last time I played through the whole game, I was like super satisfied and done, you know what I mean? So, and I haven't replayed it in a few years. So, I'm probably going to replay it now that I have a PC, play it on PC, and then play Blood and Wine. But basically, everyone says Blood and Wine's awesome. It's like a completely new game. It has even better writing than the main game, I think people were saying. And it's like, that's awesome, dude. That's exactly what the point of the, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s PC expansions were about. So, it's not over, but it's over, you know? This is the problem, is that when there's so many shitty AAA companies, you have to, like, grasp onto the next closest thing as, like, our savior. CD Projekt Red is on such a high pedestal right now. If they fuck up even slightly with Cyberpunk 2077, it's gonna, like, crush so many people. Now, of course, there's going to be a legion of fanboys who are going to say it's fine. If it's a disappointment, I guarantee you people will be like, oh, you just had unrealistic expectations. And some people do. If you go on Reddit, there are some, like, idiots who, like, think the game is going to be like the second coming of Jesus or some shit. I haven't seen anything like this since No Man's Sky.
It seems almost like an everything game.
So No Man's Sky,
Right.
what am I doing? What do I do?
We can create like an entire universe, right? And just set players loose in it. And they can do whatever they want.
And it just, here's the thing. You say you have infinite possibilities. Like, there's infinite things you can do. There's not.
I don't think there's infinite.
You can fly here, you can land, then you can take off again and go somewhere else and land, and you can step out.
You can
and
say
shoot
that about
things.
any game.
Which, dude, everyone, come on, man. Like, No Man's Sky was an obvious scam, or at least it was to me. I don't know. Maybe I've been around too long, you know? I pay too much attention to gaming news of all the insane promises, you know?
Customization can include depictions of breast, buttocks, and genitalia, as well as various sizes and combinations of genitals. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. You will be able to customize your privates however you see fit.
But Cyberpunk legitimately looks like a really good game, so if it disappoints, I'm gonna be very sad. I can't take it, dude. I have to be hyped for something. I don't even get hyped anymore, but this is the one time I'm still hyped. Fuck, dude. Oh no, please don't disappoint. Please. I'm begging you. I'm begging you. Alright, I don't even know where to go with this. The point is DLC in itself isn't bad. You know, it's just how they've used it. You know, it's kind of like, well, this is a bad analogy, but for some reason the first thing that popped in my head was, you know, guns don't kill people, people kill people, blah blah blah. Not a good comparison. But the point is that you can do great things with DLC, but the temptation for exploitation is way too high. These developers can't handle it, and gamers can't fucking handle it either, because there's too many people with loose wallets and too much money to waste on stupid shit when they could just play an old game. You know, I've said this a million times. Play an old game or play indie games. I do both. You know, I'm trying to play more indie games because you guys have told me to play indie games before. So, the next video I am going to talk about an indie game alongside Metroid Prime. You could probably guess what indie game if you thought about it. But yeah, dude, I don't know. Play some old games. I mean, I'm probably going to be showing a lot of footage of Metroid Prime and Custom Robo in this video. Custom Robo is going to be the next review after Metroid Prime. And Custom Robo is fun as hell, dude. That is a great GameCube game. Well, it has a terrible story, honestly, and honestly, I don't even know if the story itself is bad so much as just how it's told. But the gameplay is just so fun. It's such a fun game, man. I played the DS one first, like, years ago, and now I'm finally playing the GameCube one. It's very fun. I would highly recommend Custom Robo and Custom Robo Arena, though, you know, feel free to wait for the video review if you want to see for yourself why. But yeah, you know, I guess this is pretty much where I wrap this up. So, you know, give the video a like if you liked it. You know, subscribe, all that shit, blah blah, you know, whatever. You know how this works. Helps the channel and all that. I really don't want to say to smack that bell, but you know, there's that tuber voice in the back of my head that's just like, smack that bell with the fucking notifications and all that shit. You've seen all the videos. You've seen all the videos that do it. You know, you just got to smack that bell and, you know, bitch slap that subscribe button and all that shit. Yeah, guys, I don't know. Yeah, next week's Metroid Prime. The podcast got delayed for scheduling related shit, but that should also come out next week. Probably before the Metroid Prime video. Probably. I don't know. Who knows? But, yeah, me and my buddy will be recording that very soon. And, yeah, I don't know, you know, tell me if you like Custom Robo, you know, give me game suggestions. October, I'm going to talk about horror games, definitely. I mean, you guys want me to talk about Resident Evil Remake, that will be either the first or second video to come out in October. So, yeah, I don't know, other than that, you know, have fun, play some games, don't buy bad DLC. See you next time.